I'm David Scandura.
I'm Justice Burkett.
Is that George C. Scott or
Oh.
the deviant voice?
It was supposed to be like Jason Miller when he's doing his possessed voice toward the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
And today we're here to find out is The Exorcist III the greatest movie ever made?
Any signs of injuries, blood, lacerations?
That would be in the file.
It is not in the file. It is not.
Welcome to The Greatest Movie Ever Made, the show where we watch a movie and tell you if it's the greatest movie ever made.
My God!
Because that's the thing.
That was George C.
Because you
Scott.
could go quite high with a George C. Scott impression, especially in this movie. When he's like,
It is not in the file! It is not! Shut up! Shut your mouth!
like you can get you can get really distorted with the voice.
George C. Scott was nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award for this performance, and I would just like to say right at the top, fuck off. Fuck off whoever made that decision.
Yeah.
I think that person should be like if that person is still alive, I think they should be in prison for life. For nominating George C. Scott for a Golden Raspberry Award for this performance. Because what are you talking about? This performance is awesome.
George C. Scott acting in a movie that he hated, that he didn't want to be in,
Oh, yeah.
and then just serving cunt scene after fucking scene like a goddamn professional.
He's a maniac in this movie. He is like bulldozing his way through this movie. It's so rad. He's also a fucking absolute unit in this movie. He just looks so large.
Oh, he's built like a fridge.
Fridge with the face of a catcher's mitt. God bless him. He looks insane in this movie. His face looks like it's melting. And then he's just like spitting through his teeth on like half of his line deliveries. It's so rad.
Well, and especially on my crisp HD Blu-ray from Shout Factory, you can see every yellow tooth, every like old school filling in in that mouth as he's just like barking his way through this fucking script.
The craziest is like the two scenes in this movie where it's actually George C. Scott and Jason Miller on screen together simultaneously. Because obviously like Jason Miller is replaced by Brad Dourif for broad swaths of this. But anytime it's Jason Miller and George C. Scott, I was just like, God, it's amazing seeing two old boots talk to each other. Sorry, I shouldn't make fun of Jason Miller. His face looked like that because of a very, very serious alcoholism problem.
Yes, but he does kind of look like the Sorting Hat from Harry Potter. He does.
Yeah, he does look like he's about to be like, Gryffindor!
I'm David Scandura, joined as always by my co-host and the carp swimming up and down in my tub. And I have to come home late when the carp's asleep, otherwise I'll kill it. Justice Burkett.
The carp shit, High Priestess Pod can attest to this. The carp shit, I was laughing like I just was watching that bit last night. I had to view the carp scene twice because I started watching this movie last night. This is a bad movie to start when you're sleepy. I'm just gonna say that about this movie. Like, it is, the pace of this is I wouldn't say like slow in a negative way, but it's like patient. It takes its time.
Yeah, definitely.
It plods along a little bit. And if you're starting this movie at like midnight, lights out, motherfucker. Like, you will be falling asleep. So I had to watch it again today because I was dozing in and out. But like last night, High Priestess Pod was watching the beginning of this with me, and she's just sitting there stone-faced during the whole carp thing, like nary a chuckle, and I am losing my fucking mind because I think that little speech is so funny. And he's just playing it serious as a heart attack. It's awesome.
This is the fourth time I've seen this movie, and I watched it a few days ago to watch the Legion cut.
Yeah.
One detail in that scene is when they show up at the movie theater and they buy their tickets. I never noticed this. And I just noticed it this time. George C. Scott just flashes his police badge to get in.
He says police business and doesn't pay for a ticket.
And Father Dyer just looks at him.
That whole scene, all of the Kinderman and Dyer stuff at the beginning of this movie is so special to me because the tone is like unhinged in all of their scenes. Because on the one hand, we're doing like charming male friendship, busting each other's balls shit. But then George C. Scott is also locked into this performance that makes him seem like an absolute lunatic. And then like the way that Blatty is directing the camera makes things that aren't necessary that I don't want to say aren't supposed to feel tense, but like wouldn't normally feel tense. It makes them feel tense and strange and kind of off kilter. So all of their scenes have this weird energy at the beginning of the movie that I like. I don't think it's like bad weird. But like anytime they're like chatting with each other and like when they're at the movies and stuff, I'm just like, it feels like these are, like two true madmen just like bulldozing their way into this movie theater and causing chaos. And same thing when they're like at the restaurant and the waitress comes up. It seems like she's kind of looking at two Martians, you know?
Well, the thing about their relationship that kind of clicked with me on this watch, and I have no evidence to support if this was actually the case and actually what Blatty had intended. It reminds me of the relationship between William Peter Blatty and William Friedkin.
Right.
They just seem like an old married couple.
Yeah.
That bicker and fight. At the end of the day, it seems like they do genuinely love and care about each other.
Yes.
But they just love to bitch at each other, and they're coming at things from two different perspectives.
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of think that Blatty, I think you might be right, and that Blatty might be writing Kinderman as Friedkin.
Yeah.
In much the same way that like C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien wrote each other into their things. You know? You know what it was reminding me of? This podcast. And that leads me to a question, David. Which one of us is the Dyer and which one of us is the Kinderman?
That's tough because I want to be George C. Scott.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I am, though.
I was thinking about this, and I was like, I think more often I'm the Dyer and you're the Kinderman. So I think you are George C. Scott. But I was also like, there's also stuff where it's reversed. Like Kinderman is late to the movies, and Dyer's giving him shit for it, and it's clear that this is a pattern. Like Kinderman's always late, and I'm like, okay, well that's me. Like. If it's somebody who's perpetually 5 to 15 minutes late, that's this person on this podcast. And then there was a Dyer thing that reminded me of you. I don't remember what it was, but I think it's like largely the other way around though. I think I'm Dyer and you're Kinderman.
I'm happy with that. There are worse people to be than George C. Scott, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I remembered what it was. It's that Kinderman is the one who is like married but also still like really like kind of cynical about the world, and Dyer is like the single guy who's a little bit more optimistic. I feel like sometimes that's our dynamic.
Okay, that's possible.
Yeah, occasionally you're the optimist.
Yeah, occasionally.
I think we take turns.
Yeah, we have a good banter just like they do.
Yeah.
How are you doing? We haven't done that yet. We just launched into this movie.
Yeah. I'm good. I had a very busy week, but I think there's going to be a little bit of a lull before things pick back up into like truly high gear again. So that's nice. My media recommendation is another 2025 movie that I was late to, but I just want to encourage anybody who, like me, has held off to see it, which is 28 Years Later, directed by Danny Boyle. It's really blew me away. I had heard good things about it, but don't think I was really fully prepared for what that movie is and where it goes. If you've heard that 28 Years Later is different than 28 Days Later, I don't think you are prepared for how different and how like good the departures from the first film are. Yeah. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was great. And if you haven't seen it, and you've been holding off like me, just fucking do it because it's great.
Yeah, that's one that I think I could go up or down on the next time I watch it. Like, I feel like I could either like it more or have more problems with it. But I do think that movie's great. And also, like, I sort of understand the people who hate it and just wanted them to do 28 Days Later again. My advice, if you want that, they did that. It's called 28 Weeks Later.
Right.
And
there's an episode of this podcast on it.
Boyle and Garland are not at all interested in rehashing the past.
No. Nor
So just, like, be ready for that.
yeah, nor do I think they should be.
Yeah.
There is like 40% less zombie apocalypse stuff and 5,000% more zombie penises though. So so it's a yes from me. David, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
I like hearing that. That sounded definitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like a question even.
No.
Like you usually do.
No, I'm good. I've been walking more this week. I walked, like, first thing I did this morning was get up and take a walk.
Nice.
And then took another one. So I'm getting out and moving more and enjoying the weather while it's still relatively tolerable in terms of cold weather up here. Yeah, I don't have anything to recommend, really. The Exorcist III, perhaps.
Yes.
Maybe I recommend that.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say, regardless of what our verdicts will be, that both of us recommend this movie.
Yeah, I love this movie.
I do too.
A couple Octobers ago, I was kind of doing like a series watch during Halloween. So I was watching different series and like trying to get a few entries in of each film. So I did Exorcist II and Exorcist III with the intention of watching more to, eventually build up to the release of the last Exorcist movie that David Gordon Green did.
Believer, yeah.
Yeah. So I watched 2, and 2 sucked.
Yeah, notoriously bad movie from what I've heard.
Yeah. I would like to watch it again because it is weird. Like, it's definitely weird.
Yeah. Linda Blair came back for that one.
She
right?
is.
She's in
yeah,
it.
she's in it. She's quite good in it. I will say she's good in that.
Yeah.
But strange movie, weird movie, directed by John Borman. I would like to see that again now that we've seen another Borman movie.
Yeah.
And then I watched this having basically no preconceived notions about what it was.
Probably
other than
most of what you knew about it is the scissor in the hallway scene.
I had seen that.
Yeah.
I had probably seen a little bit of the heaven sequence at some point.
Yeah.
And I knew that it had like a mixed reaction when it came out. And I locked the fuck into this thing immediately.
Yeah.
This is a movie that I think about like every few weeks.
Yeah.
Every few weeks I'm thinking about something in The Exorcist 3.
Yeah. This movie for you is sort of similar to what The Empty Man is for me, where it's like a movie that I'm just like every once in a while I'm like, "Oh yeah, The Empty Man." Remember The Empty Man? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so. And sometimes with a movie like that, I end up watching it too much. And maybe I may have overexposed myself to some like Possession, because that was Possession. I was after I watched it, I was like, oh, I need to watch that again like immediately.
Yeah.
So I watched it a few months later. But this one, I've had a good, healthy few months in between watches to sit on it and ruminate about it. And I'm very excited to talk about it with you today.
Yeah.
I will say, I've seen the original Exorcist a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think I've only seen the so-called director's cut, which Friedkin have no actual involvement in.
Right.
I think that's the only version that I've seen.
Interesting. Okay. I've seen the first one a bunch of times. It's one of High Priestess Pod's favorite movies. And it's up there for me too. So we watch that pretty frequently. And I actually saw that for the first time in a like kind of legendary formative movie watching streak in my life, which was I have an adopted sister who's 14 years younger than me. When my parents were traveling to China to adopt my sister, I was 16 and my older brother was 18, and so my parents were out of the country doing all the adoption paperwork and meeting my sister in China and everything for a few weeks. And my 18-year-old brother and I, and then my younger brother were all home alone for those weeks. And my brother and I used it as an opportunity to just be like, let's rent all of the horror movies and just watch them. So like that's the first time I saw The Shining. That's the first time I saw Alien. That's the first time I saw The Exorcist.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, a bunch of those movies. Like the first time I saw it was like all in those weeks when my parents were adopting my sister. So the first time I saw The Exorcist was then, and I remember that viewing experience so viscerally because I sort of maintain, and this is like a very popular take, I sort of maintain that movie is like one of the most disturbing horror movies of all time. And I think it hits that way for me because like I had a religious upbringing, and the first time I viewed it, I still very much was I identified as like an American evangelical, right? And the blasphemous imagery in that movie is quite striking for someone who like was raised in that, and especially for someone who actively believes it, right? So I do remember that movie kind of being one of the most disturbing film viewing experiences of my entire life. And I go back to it pretty regularly, and even though I've changed a little bit and I'm much more of like a horror aficionado and a gore hound and stuff now, and I like kind of fucked up imagery in movies, it's not something I avoid, it's more something I seek out. That movie still does skeeve me out, you know. High Priestess Pod came in with a follow-up question. She asked me if it still skeeves me out based on how many times I've seen it. I would say the one thing that still gets me is the crucifix stabbing in the vagina. That is still hard for me to watch because I think that scene is like so upsetting. And yeah, the whole like lick me, that whole shit, it's like still very, very icky to me. I think that shit's very fucked up. Still.
Yeah.
Even after like my umpteenth viewing.
And I've always been very impressed with that film. I think because I've only seen the director's cut, I maybe have only seen like the worst version of it.
Yeah, I will say the theatrical I think is better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, very well made. I think there's maybe just like some emotional attachment that isn't quite there for me. Because if you had to stick a gun to my head and ask me what my favorite Exorcist movie is on this podcast, I'd say it's The Exorcist III.
Okay, well that's insane, but that's fine.
I think just The Exorcist III speaks to me and what I look for in crime stories and horror movies a little bit more than what's in the first Exorcist.
I will say
but I'd love to go back to the first one.
Yeah.
I'd love to watch the theatrical cut.
You should watch the theatrical cut because the theatrical cut is better. There is one thing that is like a value add in the director's cut, and that's the spider walk down the stairs moment. Like that's the thing that was good that they added back in, and everything else that they added back in, I'm kind of like, you didn't need it.
Yeah.
And all the little flashes of the Pazuzu face are fucking stupid, and I don't like them.
Yeah.
But like now that you like, now that you've kind of elaborated on that opinion, it actually does make a lot of sense to me that you like this movie more than you like the first one, because this is a very David movie. Like I feel like I get what you gravitate toward in this. Yeah.
Would you like to ask me what I like about it?
What do you like about it, David?
I like that it's a movie about confronting the cruelty and absurdity of the universe.
Yep.
And also it's a movie where George C. Scott fights an old lady.
Yeah. Like I said, a very David movie.
Yeah.
A thing that's interesting about this movie that you like sort of hinted at is this is kind of more of a crime thriller than a horror movie. I think. Like I sort of think that until the last 20 minutes of this movie, it's much more of a crime thriller than it is a horror movie.
Right.
And then it just kind of takes a little horror turn at the end.
Right, because of the studio mandated exorcism scene that they had to reshoot.
Which, like, I am reticent to say that, like, giving an artist studio notes and forcing them to do something that they don't want to do in their movie is, like, ever a good thing. I do think the exorcism sequence at the end of this movie rocks, and I'm glad it's in the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
So the original cut of the film, or the original vision that Blatty had for this, was a much more grounded crime thriller procedural with downplayed supernatural elements.
Yeah.
And a lot of that footage had been lost, and then recently they recovered some of it in a very low, like basically the VHSs of the dailies. They recovered it and stitched it together in sort of a kind of director's cut called Legion that's available on the Shout Factory Blu-ray, where the movie just ends with basically the climax is the old lady trying to kill George C. Scott's daughter with the shears.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to the hospital and he just walks in and shoots Father Karras.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's no giant, crazy, over-the-top, spectacular, supernatural scene.
See, I kind of feel like that ending is like super underwhelming.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
Like watching it is, especially because Blatty talked up the director, his original vision for so long. He was so dissatisfied with the way this film turned out because of the studio meddling. Brad Dourif says that he preferred his performance in the original.
I can't imagine
the original shoots.
his performance in the original shoots was any better than it is in the cut that we got.
Yeah.
Because Brad Dourif fucking rules in this movie. This is one of my favorite performances in like villain performances in a horror movie. I think it's really, really up there.
Yeah, I'd agree totally. So I do think this is better than what Blatty had in mind. And again, like I don't want to say sometimes the studio has a point,
Right.
Because Blatty wanted to do this and have no relation to The Exorcist in the title. He didn't want to have any sort of connection to the first one. And it's like, how are you going to sell that to an audience?
Yeah, you gotta fucking market this shit.
Yeah,
Still, dude. Like,
yeah.
Also, Blatty seems like a little bit of a character.
I kind of think William Peter Blatty might be crazy.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Might have been crazy.
I mean, speaking of his collaborator and longtime friend William Friedkin, also a guy who's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched Leap of Faith?
No, I haven't.
One of my favorite things in Leap of Faith is the interviewer. Leap of Faith obviously is like a making of feature for The Exorcist.
Okay.
And it's sorry, not making of. It's like a retrospective on The Exorcist.
Okay. I don't think I've seen the full thing, but I've probably seen parts of it.
Yeah, and most of it is composed of interviews with William Friedkin. Like it's like largely just a feature-length documentary where they sit down and talk to Friedkin about The Exorcist. And one of my favorite things in it is the interviewer is talking to Friedkin about the themes of The Exorcist, and they start being like, okay, like there's a lot of interpretations about, you know, what this film is saying about, you know, American disillusionment in institutions after the Vietnam War or during the Vietnam War and blah 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 blah. They're like giving him all the interpretations, and he's like, no, it's about God and the devil. It's a movie about how God is good and the devil is bad. He gets like so pissed off about it. He's like, I made a movie about how Jesus Christ is Lord.
Well, that's the thing that he and Friedkin clashed about was the ambiguity of the original ending.
Yeah.
And like Friedkin was like, I celebrate the different interpretations of people, and you have always been more resistant to that. And Blatty's whole thing was like, well, I don't want the audience to think that the devil won at the end.
Yeah.
So I think the ending of the director's cut has changed to reflect Blatty's vision.
Yeah.
So a little bit about William Peter Blatty. He was born in poverty,
Mhm.
And worked various jobs until he won. This is an insane fucking thing. I read this on Wikipedia, so who knows if it's true or not. But it said that he was impersonating a Saudi Arabian prince, and then went on to a game show and won $10,000 while he was still impersonating the Saudi Arabian prince. So he could quit his and that gave him the money to quit his day job and pursue writing full time.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And then he, you know, writes The Exorcist, and it
huge
sells 13 million copies or whatever.
Yeah.
And then as part of like my research for this week, building up to this episode, I watched his first movie, the only other movie that he's directed, The Ninth Configuration.
Okay.
Which I've wanted to watch for a while. It's fucking insane. It's also insane.
Cool.
I think this man is just crazy. It's a movie about Vietnam vets who have PTSD and various mental disorders, living in a castle
Okay.
and a new psychiatrist comes in, played by Stacy Keach, and like the first half of it is like a satirical black comedy
Huh.
of just these Vietnam vets doing bits as they're exploring their their mental struggles following the Vietnam War, and then the second half is like a deeply serious rumination on God and morality.
Okay.
And Tom Atkins is in it.
Oh,
That's also why I wanted to watch it.
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Also, Ed Flanders, Scott Wilson, and Jason Miller are in the Ninth Configuration.
Yeah.
And then they worked on this movie with him 10 years later. But yeah, it seems like I think William Peter Blatty had real talent as a director, but it does also seem like his first love was writing, and his strengths and his skills were more as a writer than a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Because both the Ninth Configuration and Exorcist III are so talky.
Yes.
Maybe to the point of it being a flaw.
Yeah, this movie is dialogue heavy. It's also like not very many locations, and while I was watching it, I was like, this kind of would work as a stage play. Like you could kind of do Exorcist 3 on stage.
I think they've released a stage adaptation pretty recently.
Yeah, that makes complete sense
Yeah.
to me because like basically you have the hospital and his house, and then we spend a little bit of time at a movie theater and a restaurant, but that's most of the locations in the movie. And it's like, yeah, you could do this with like a community theater budget, basically. Like,
Yeah, and similarly, Ninth Configuration is also just like most of the movies in the castle.
yeah,
And he experienced difficulties shooting Ninth Configuration, and then, of course, here he was fighting with the studio, and also had, other directors lined up originally. He was going to do it with Billy Friedkin, and then he and Friedkin had creative differences, and he dropped out.
yeah.
He was going to do it with John Carpenter, and Carpenter wanted to do a more traditional Exorcist sequel and do special effects and dial up the gore effects and stuff like that. And Blatty wasn't interested in that.
Yeah, in the quote that E.T. pulled in our research from John Carpenter, it also seemed like John Carpenter had clocked pretty early that Blatty just wanted to direct this movie himself.
Yeah.
And Carpenter was like, yeah, like, I kept trying to give him ideas, but he just wanted to make the movie. So eventually I fucked off so he could just make the movie.
Yeah.
Like, which feels like a very Carpenter thing, being like, okay, you want to direct this movie? Then direct this movie, bitch. I'm out of here.
There are so many failed Carpenter projects, or like Carpenter projects that didn't come to pass for one reason or another.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's one of the things I love about the guy is he's not afraid to walk away from work. Right?
Oh, yeah.
He's just like, I could get paid and make a $1 million or $2 million on this thing, or I could just like save myself the trouble and like go hang out at home.
Yeah. And then they originally tried to get Jason Miller back, but Jason Miller was an alcoholic and couldn't do it, so they recast his role with Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
And Dourif was originally supposed to basically be playing Karras and the Gemini Killer, and I think they even shot scenes of him in the priest outfit, like basically redone versions of the scenes from the first Exorcist.
Right, yeah.
But they haven't survived other than a few photographs that I saw. And then the studio brought Jason Miller back, and Jason Miller was able to do a little bit of it, but was also still deep in alcoholism and couldn't do the lines. And then they brought back Dourif to do reshoots in 3 days, which is what's in the film, is him doing like 2 days of rehearsals with a PA in his hotel room to run lines, and then 1 day of reshoots. It seems like something like that. It was a really, really quick turnaround for the reshoots.
Yeah.
So it seems like it was like a production nightmare.
Yeah.
And when it came out, it had quite a mixed reception, quite a negative reception too. I think, like a movie that we'll talk about next week, it's starting to gain back some cultural appreciation.
Yes. Yeah. The sort of 1-2 punch of Exorcist 3 and Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is like, threequels that were initially maligned that now people are like, maybe there's something there. And both of them have a lead performance by an unhinged guy with a crazy face. I wonder if the editor of this movie, Todd C. Ramsey, who also edited Escape from New York and The Thing, was a holdover from Carpenter's involvement on this thing. Like, I wonder if Carpenter brought him on board and he just stuck around when the director changed to Blatty. I wouldn't know, but
Possibly.
but it, like, that is a thing that I like about this movie, actually, is the editing. So when I saw in ET's research that, like, this is the same guy who edited Escape from New York and The Thing, I was like, oh, that's why it feels like the editing is standing out in this movie to me, because it's like a guy who is like sort of a little bit of a legend. He also did Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just I was thinking about the Carpenter of it all. He probably brought that guy on board, and then like Carpenter bailed, but like the editor is like, I'll stick around for the paycheck. That's just my speculation, though.
Yeah, I do love the editing in this movie.
It's good. It's the whole visual aesthetic of this movie, from the cinematography to the like visual direction and even like the art direction and the editing, is all, it feels very unique. Like this movie's visual style feels very specific. Like not a lot of movies look like The Exorcist III. Like this kind of is like a little singular in its approach, and I think part of it is that it is a relatively new director. Like Blatty was more of a writer than a director, and you get the same thing in like Clive Barker movies, like that first Hellraiser movie especially. It's like weird visually because the guy making it wasn't a trained director, you know, so he's just doing what feels right to him. And it's like kind of a similar thing here, where it's like, yeah, Blatty isn't like restrained by like the training and like conventions of American like directors. He's just sort of like, yeah, I don't know, like this is what feels right. Putting the camera here feels right.
Yeah.
You know?
There's one of the reshoots with Father Morning, who's the titular exorcist that is just shoved into this movie because they needed an exorcist in it.
Yes. Who, by the way, is played by
Nicol Williamson.
Yes, Nicol Williamson, who in ET's research, I just wanted to call this out because I thought it was so funny. Apparently, he was notorious for violent outbursts toward audiences, cast members, and crew, several on stage during performances. And then there's a bullet point in the research below that just says, enjoyed slapping people. Did that a lot. So like kind of a piece of shit potentially, but I don't know. He's in this movie.
Yeah. But there's a shot where his first scene where the movie just introduces you to him and just is like, okay, this guy's here now. He's completely unconnected to everything else.
Yeah. To the point where when he shows up at the end, I was sort of like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. When the crucifix falls off of his wall, there's a shot on the ground of him going to pick up the crucifix, and the crucifix is in the foreground, and it's clear that they did a forced perspective trick and made like a giant version of the crucifix.
Yeah.
Especially so it could weep blood.
Yeah.
And it is just like for him to go and he picks it up, and then when the shot of him picking it up, it's back to the regular size crucifix. It's like, I don't know that another director would think to frame a shot like that.
Right. But it's like, because Blatty wrote the book and the screenplay, he has a very clear idea of the images, how the images are in his head. And it feels like him directing this movie is him just being like, this is what it looks like in my head. We're making that happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that's clear in the opening sequence of the movie.
Yeah.
Which
big
is,
time.
it's just, this movie does such a great job of withholding information for the audience.
Yeah.
And just stringing you along until it all comes together.
It feels like there are like 8 opening sequences to this movie before shit actually starts happening. And like, not necessarily in a bad way. It's just like Blatty wants to like convey so many images right at the top of this thing that are going to tie back into stuff later. And he just like front loads it all. He's just like, yeah, like I want to show you the kid who's like the murder victim who got like crucified on the oars. I want to show you the oars, so we're gonna like show some people rowing on the river. We're gonna show like the police helicopters searching the river. We're gonna show like he is like, okay, I have all this stuff that I want to tell you.
George C. Scott's going to investigate the body before he's even really introduced in the movie.
Yeah.
We're going to do the shot of the Exorcist stairs 3 times.
So many shots of those stairs.
Just get it out of the way and then forget about it for the rest of the movie.
I love that The Exorcist III, which does not reference or acknowledge The Exorcist II in any way. So really this kind of it's treating itself as a direct sequel to the first movie.
Right.
Right. I like that The Exorcist III is basically like, if your favorite things about the first Exorcist movie were the stairs and the part at the end of the movie where the cop and the priest decide to go to the movies together, you're in for a treat because those are the main things we're latching on to. Which I think the two of them going to the movies at the end of The Exorcist only happens in the director's cut. I don't think that's in the theatrical cut.
I think that's right.
Yeah. But anyway, so you see those stairs so many times. You also see at the beginning of the movie. This also just made me start laughing because I was just like, I forgot how absolutely insane this movie is from the jump. You like early in the movie, like during the opening credits, you're like in a chapel. And the doors blow open and like the wind blows in a bunch of leaves. And there's these close-ups on this like crucifix, like Jesus on the cross, like typical Catholic thing. And like you see his eyes open.
Yeah.
It's so insane.
And then his expression changes in the next shot.
It does, yeah. He goes from like looking kind of like peaceful or whatever to looking sort of like scared and alarmed. It's so crazy.
And then you get the title.
Yes, Exorcist III.
Like
yeah.
that's your little taster before you get the main title.
It's wild shit, dude. Yeah.
It rules.
Yeah. You also get tubular bells for like 12 seconds.
Yeah, again, because he's just like, all right, we're going to acknowledge the first one, but this is my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also get a stuntman taking a dive down those stairs.
Boy, do we. Yeah.
He goes down every single one of those fucking stairs. It's awesome.
Yeah. It felt like a scene from Scream 3. Yeah, like, so Kinderman and Dyer, like, that stuff we kind of already, like, touched on a little bit. That's, like, a lot of the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
Them kind of hanging out, us being like, this relationship has continued over 15 years. They're close, they're busting each other's balls, but they're really close friends and they love each other.
It's the 15th year anniversary of Karras's death, and they go to the movies together every year on that day. And
I like the thing where, like, Father Dyer is talking to his absolutely unhinged boss, who I love. That this priest who is like Father Dyer's like boss at the Catholic hospital or whatever, where like they're having a conversation about how he's taken Kinderman to the movies to see It's a Wonderful Life for like the 37th time, and he's like, "What's your favorite movie?" And this guy's just like, "The Fly." And then later, like, Kinderman's talking to this dude, and he, like, the priest is like, "Hey, you need a drink? I need one." And then Kinderman's like, "Do you believe in possessions, Father?" And he's like, "Who cares? I got kids who need scholarships." This guy rules.
This movie's funny.
It's so funny.
I didn't expect this movie to be funny.
The script is really funny. Like, there's lots of good jokes in here. There's also a lot of like kind of absurdist humor in this.
Yeah.
Where like when Dyer is in the hospital and Kinderman's visiting him, there's that nurse who shows up and she's like, "Is this I don't even remember the last name, but she's got the wrong room." And then they're like no, like, and she's like 409 and they're like 411 and she's like, "Oh, sorry," or whatever, and just wheels the cart out. It's such a weird like offbeat little moment where I'm like, what, like, why the fuck is that in here? But also I'm happy it is.
Well, and then Dyer says something to the effect of like, "Go with God, daughter, may the Schwartz be with you."
Yeah.
And it's it just comes out of nowhere. So Blatty considered himself to be a comedy writer first and foremost. Like that's a lot of the screenplays that he wrote were comedies, and then he wrote The Exorcist. That was his first departure away from comedies.
Yeah.
And I think this movie I think is occasionally funny in unintentional ways, like
Yes.
the eyes flying open
Yeah.
of the crucifix. But it's also intentionally very funny, and there's elements of absurdist humor. I think the entire Carp speech
Yes.
is I think representative of the absurdism of the film.
And some of that shit feels, I don't want to get too far away from the point that I was trying to make before. I will return to it.
Okay.
But to close out this thought, I think some of the absurdist humor to me this time, I was like, oh yeah, like David Lynch was a known quantity by 1990. I kind of feel like some of this shit is maybe a little bit influenced by his
definitely.
Because it feels like this movie feels a little Lynch influenced at points, especially the dream. But like overall, like the Carp speech, I was like, yeah, like that feels like some shit that would be in Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
which premiered the same year.
There are parts in this movie that feel like bits on Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
like
totally.
when he's talking to the catatonic Alzheimer's patients
with
stuff
the
like
radio.
that.
Yeah.
That's like that would be a 5-minute thing in Twin Peaks that would
Yes.
just come out of nowhere.
Yes, especially in The Return.
Yeah.
It would be a 5-minute thing in Twin Peaks. It would be a 15-minute thing in The Return.
Yeah, it'd be 15 minutes of the return.
15 minutes spliced over 8 episodes.
Right.
We just keep going back to the old lady with the invisible radio.
Right. The most insane, violent, horrifying thing would happen,
Yeah.
and then David Lynch would cut to the
Right.
lower lady with the radio.
Yeah, we've just found the like fucking headless corpse. And then we're cutting back to like invisible radio lady.
And then the chromatics would play over the credits.
Right, yeah.
At the Bang Bang Bar. And that would be the episode. Go back to your point.
To
yeah.
circle back, yeah. So, we were talking about Kinderman and Dyer and their friendship, and I like that when Dyer's talking to his boss, he's like, I take Kinderman to the movies every year on the anniversary of Karras's death to cheer him up. And then we see Kinderman with his family, and he's like, yeah, this is the day that I cheer up our friend Father Dyer. And I think that that's so sweet that both of them, like, kind of not knowing that the other one is doing the same thing, are like, oh, this is the day that I help my buddy feel better because, I know he's always really down this day,
Right.
Yeah.
They're male friends that don't necessarily express their emotions sincerely.
Yes. Yeah. But they like very clearly like genuinely care about each other. And that's the thing that I feel like this watch of this movie did better for me than the first time I watched it. Like I think I was just more like locked into their relationship. And so then when Dyer gets killed, it feels like that beat of this movie worked better for me this time, where I was like, oh yeah, like I got how much these guys love each other. And it makes a lot of sense to me that like George C. Scott is like on a hair trigger for the rest of this movie.
Yeah,
because he's lost his best friend.
The two things that I really remember from this movie are obviously George C. Scott and Brad Dourif. Those long scenes in Karras's cell, but also George C. Scott and Ed Flanders as Kinderman and Dyer, and they're the emotional heart of the movie. And you kind of forget, or at least I kind of forgot, that it's such a short part of this movie because his death basically is the end of the first act.
Yeah, it's like almost it's like barely 30 minutes in.
Yeah. But I think both of these actors do a great job giving these characters on-screen chemistry and building a relationship that feels like it's had 15 years to develop.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they're completely recasted from the original film.
Yeah, but I don't mind that at all. I wish that like legacy sequels or just sequels in general felt more liberated to do this.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, I always hate the thing where it's like, oh, we're bringing back the original cast members who don't really want to do it, or worse, we're fucking like digitally replacing someone who's dead or didn't come back or some shit. And it's like, just cast a different guy. It doesn't matter. Like the audience will like pick it if another character calls them by the character name. Right? If it's like, oh yes, this is Grand Moff Tarkin, and it's just a different guy, Rogue One, then it's like, that's fine, Yeah. I wish that like Hollywood like would just accept that they can just make a different guy the character,
You know what movie did a really good job at that I actually don't really like that much?
Oh yeah?
Dr.
What?
Sleep.
Oh yeah.
I think the
Yes, Henry Thomas as Jack Torrance in that movie.
yeah,
Yeah, Henry Thomas fucking kills it in that movie.
and the woman they cast to play Shelley Duvall's character.
yeah.
I think those scenes are some of the best stuff in Doctor Sleep, and you just kind of go along with it.
You don't like Dr. Sleep?
I was really mixed on Doctor Sleep.
Stay tuned for Dr. Sleep.
Okay.
I think that convinced
It's
me
the
to pull the
only-
trigger on a future Dr. Sleep
It's the only
episode.
Flanagan I've seen aside from Midnight Mass.
Oh, you gotta see more Flanagan. Flanagan, though, I feel like would kind of kill an Exorcist verse movie.
Well, according
If they
to
ever
his,
want to do another one of these, give it to Mike Flanagan. Especially because he'll do the Blatty thing where he'll overwrite it.
yeah.
He's great at that.
According to his Letterboxd, he loves this movie.
That does not surprise me at all, because you know what this movie's full of? Monologues. And Mike Flanagan loves a monologue.
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan, the only thing that he likes more than exploring his own religious trauma through his works is having a character just sit down and talk continuously for about 8 minutes.
So one of these early scenes with Dyer and Kinderman is they're at the bar after going to see It's a Wonderful Life, and they're talking about God, and they're
Yeah.
talking about sin
Yeah.
and the nature of suffering, and Kinderman goes into detail about the crime the murder that he stumbled across this morning, which was a young African American kid who was part of the Police Boys Club,
Yeah.
who was found with ingots driven into both of his eyes. He was crucified on a pair of rowing oars, and his head was cut off, and in the place of it, it was replaced with a head from a statue of Christ done up in blackface.
Yes, and like minstrel, yeah.
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 And that is one of the that is the first of many off-screen murders in this movie that will be described in similar insane detail.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I like that we get these crazy descriptions of these murders and then we just don't see any of it. In a different horror movie, I would be like, show us the shit, like show us the gore. I want to see it, right? But because this is less of a horror movie and more of a crime thriller, I kind of like that we're keeping it away from the audience, and we're seeing how it's affecting George C. Scott. But we're not actually like subjected to any of the imagery ourselves. And then like when we actually do get a little bit of gore in like the last 20 minutes of this movie, it feels more like shocking because you haven't really seen anything yet, Like I think that's a really, really good decision. And it's like the difference between like a real horror thriller like David Fincher's Seven and this is that like Seven is like, yeah, we're gonna show you all the fucked up shit, and this is like, no, we're gonna like show you how it's affecting the guy who's seeing it, but you don't get to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is, when I watched Silence of the Lambs for the first time,
Yeah.
which was relatively recently, that was a movie that like the perfect kind of classic movie that immediately clicked with me and was like, oh yeah, everyone was right. Why
Yeah.
haven't I seen this before?
Yeah, hot take, Silence of the Lambs. Good movie.
Good movie.
Good.
Pretty good movie you made there, Jonathan Demme. What I realized was like, oh, every crime thriller has just been doing Silence of the Lambs, but worse.
Yeah.
When I watched Exorcist III, I amended that to every crime thriller has been doing Silence of the Lambs and Exorcist III, but
Right.
worse.
And this
Because-
came out before Silence of the Lambs, I think, right? Because this was 1990.
This is 90.
Yeah. And Silence of the Lambs is 91?
It's around the same time. I think it's like either maybe 92 or maybe is it 90?
No, I'm pretty sure it's 90. I'm pretty sure Silence of the Lambs is 91. We can look it up, but 91. Silence of the Lambs is
yeah.
91. So this was first. This does in some ways feel like a proto Silence of the Lambs. Not that Silence of the Lambs was influenced by this at all, because it probably wasn't. They were probably in production at the same time, And the book had already been written. But like it feels like there was just something in the culture. There was something in the air, right?
Yeah.
And this was the way things were trending. And it feels like this is sort of like a proto example of what would be perfected in Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. But thinking about 7, and I was like, I would not be surprised if Fincher has seen Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
And that influenced 7.
Yeah.
Because 7 is kind of just this movie
with no demons.
with no demons and the crime scenes and the murders shown in more graphic detail.
Yeah, but it is pretty similar. Yeah, you're right.
And I would extend that further to other, supernatural tinged or horror tinged crime thrillers that came along to rip off 7, like Bone Collector.
Yeah.
Or even recently Longlegs. When everyone was making Silence of the Lambs comparisons with Longlegs, I was like, no, this is Exorcist 3 and Twin Peaks.
You are so right that Longlegs is Exorcist 3. And I think that that's kind of what people didn't like about it, is because it was being marketed as Silence of the Lambs, and then you watch it and it's Exorcist 3.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, you're watching the scene where they finally reveal Longlegs and he's talking to Micah Monroe in the cell. I'm like, this is just like a shorter version of the fucking Brad Dourif monologues from Exorcist 3.
Micah Monroe, though, a lot easier on the eyes than George C. Scott.
Yeah.
That's definitely sort of an upgrade.
Yeah.
In the terms of like just how easy it is to look at her face.
Oh, you know what I would love?
Huh.
Team up movie with George C. Scott and Micah Monroe investigating some other supernatural murder.
Unfortunately,
together.
that's now impossible because George C. Scott is famously dead.
Yeah, I mean, if we could, bridge the space-time continuum or whatever, or bring him back from the dead.
Right, resurrect him much like the corpse of Damian Karras.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this first murder has happened. We hear this horrible description, right? And then there's some police investigation stuff happening, but then pretty quickly another murder happens where it's like the priest in the confessional with like the unseen assailant. And this scene is so good. It's so creepy and eerie and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Blatty's great with his editing and his writing, and allows you to put things together in your own mind, because you see this woman lead in an older woman into the church, and then we just get the confessional scene from the priest's point of view.
Yeah, and you just see like his POV shot when the killer is speaking is just him looking at like the dark, like the mesh, and then like the dark other chamber of the confessional.
Yeah. And when he gets killed, we don't see it. We don't see the killer. We see a blood trail across the floor, and then the old lady leaving, making the sign of the cross.
I think that the way that the priest's death is shot and edited together is like the perfect microcosm of like everything I love about this movie, because we're like in the confessional, and the person giving confession starts saying some really fucked up shit.
Yeah.
They're basically like,
I only did 17 little bad things. The first one was a waitress. I cut her throat and watched her bleed.
or whatever, and you see the priest getting very disturbed and afraid, and there's like a reaction shot of him like looking horrified, and then it cuts to like the audio cuts to a woman screaming, and the visuals cuts to like the entrance to the chapel, and you see like a woman screaming and like a cop kind of holding and comforting her. And then there's like a smash cut to these two eerie Aryan children who are like clearly like this woman's kids, just like sitting on the back of a pew, like staring blankly. And then it cuts to like an extreme close up of just blood seeping across the floor. And I was like, this movie is like, there are moments of this movie that are silly, and moments of this movie where I'm like, I kind of think that Blatty is missing what he's aiming for. And then there's shit like this where I'm like, I think this is legitimately actually fantastic filmmaking, And one of the fascinating things to me about this movie is that it kind of seamlessly transitions between all of those modes. Like, it's like as you're watching it, you're like, oh, that was kind of silly and weird. And then the next thing you're looking at is like one of the most compelling images you've ever seen, you know? And I feel like that really comes together in like the dream sequence. But I feel like the perfect like little example of it is just that tiny little sequence right here.
Right. It stitches so many of the different tones of this movie together.
Yeah.
You know, like the two kids just kind of sitting there. That feels like a thing that like Lynch would throw into a movie.
Yeah.
And this movie's full of that. It's full of like establishing shots of locations and background characters, and it just edits. It's like this movie's kind of made in the editing.
Yeah.
Where it just focuses on them for like brief moments, even in the opening scene where the chapel doors blow open and Christ's eyes open up. There's a lot of like patient scenes or shots that focus on the like the hymnals in the pews and the altar and stuff like that. He's really interested in creating a mood and an atmosphere in this movie.
Yeah.
And that lends itself to some of the like slower pacing that we get throughout this thing.
Yeah.
But moment to moment, he's really focused on details and images and ideas.
Yeah.
I think like this is a movie that benefits from repeated viewings because there are so many things that you miss the first time.
Yeah.
I miss that the priest that's killed in this scene is in the heaven sequence.
Yes, he
is.
is.
There's a shot of him on a bed next to an angel with the stitching around his
yes,
neck.
everyone who has been killed so far is in the heaven sequence with the stitches in their neck. Yeah.
And then he just loves doing stuff like that.
Yeah. That the heaven sequence is almost where we're at because like after the priest gets killed, we do some investigating of his death and we're like looking for fingerprints and stuff. And then we get to the hospital because Father Dyer has been hospitalized. Because he has some like minor health scare that he's trying to downplay, and Kinderman, because he cares deeply about Father Dyer, is like kind of making a big deal out of it. And I like that he brings him like a stuffed puffin and shit.
Yeah.
It's very cute. And he like shows up with the stuffed animal and he's like, "What the hell is this all about?" Like, just being all gruff and like an asshole, but he's like actually like a big sweetie.
I like the exchange that they have where he's like, "Your brother died when he was 30. Yeah, he was shot in Vietnam. Well, maybe there could be some connection."
Yeah, because he's saying like his symptoms are the same as his brother's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like he's visited Father Dyer in the hospital, but then he goes home and has a dream. And this is like the weird dream sequence, where like George C. Scott enters like a big chapel, like it's like a big or not even a chapel, like a cathedral.
Mhm.
It's a very striking shot of like we go through the doors and there's like the big domed ceiling with all the windows and everything, and then like inside, I think you said this was heaven. I think this is purgatory because someone has a line about like this is where we wait.
Right, and there's like timetables that you would
Yes.
see at like a train station or a bus terminal or something there too.
So I think he's like visiting purgatory.
Yeah, it's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
I think people just kind of colloquially refer to it as the heaven sequence.
Because Fabio's here and he's in an angel costume.
Yeah. Yeah. We also have Patrick Ewing here. We have Sam Jackson here,
Yes.
who's dubbed over.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of old ladies playing music.
I love
We have a big giant jazz band.
I love the angel with the muted trumpet who's like leading the purgatory jazz band. That shit is so funny to me. He's like, day. Yeah.
And this set is the idea that they filmed this.
Yeah.
That someone gave William Peter Blatty money to shoot a 5-minute scene for Exorcist III that is so abstract and on this scale and filled with so many extras and
It's weird.
costumes.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. And it almost like the way that like this like purgatory set is laid out, because obviously they're in this big cathedral, but then it's like the way that there's like a bunch of like just kind of bunks, like just beds, kind of like in rows. It reminds you of like after there's like a natural disaster, like a hurricane or whatever, and you see like a FEMA shelter or something. Like it kind of feels like that, where it's like, here's your little bed. There's no dividers. You're just like bunked up next to strangers, you know? And it's a very like weird and striking image. Yeah. And George C. Scott is like wandering through this place. He sees the like little boy who was like the first murder that we learn about. And I love that he like, the kid comes up to him and he's like, I'm so sorry you were murdered. Like he just like in the dream, this is all normal to him.
I really love that line, and I love that delivery because we don't have any really backstory on their relationship other than we knew that Kinderman knew this kid from the Police Boys Club.
Yeah.
To me, that line and the way it's delivered and like the tone that it has in the film is one of the things that's representative of the film's themes, where it's like, it's so sad and absurd that we live in a world where children die.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And there's really no way that that a sane person can react to it.
Right.
And of course the scene ends with him coming across Father Dyer sitting across from Patrick Ewing in an angel costume.
Yes, and Patrick Ewing is doing tarot.
Right.
And the hanged man keeps coming up repetitively. Yeah.
Yeah. And Father Dyer has the stitching around his neck.
Yeah. And Kinderman goes, I wonder if we're having the same dream. And Dyer's like, I'm not dreaming, dude. Yeah. This sequence is like, it's one of my favorite things in the movie, I think. It's so weird. And also it feels very intentional. Like it doesn't feel weird for weird's sake. It's like, no, like he's saying shit with all of this. But it is very abstract, and yeah, and it is one of the moments in this movie where I'm like, right, like, yeah, like Lynch was a known quantity. Like this is like shit that is like the stuff that I gravitate to in Lynch's work is kind of influencing this.
Yeah. I don't think it's a ripoff of Lynch.
No. I think the influence is there.
I think the influence is apparent. But I think Blatty is able to put his own spin on it.
Yeah.
But in a similar way to Lynch, with a lot of this movie, I feel like I know what it means, but I can't exactly articulate it. And that's a big thing with the Heaven scene.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. Where it's like, while you're watching it, it just gives you like the vibes where you're like, right, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next thing that we have, other than a shot outside of, we get a few of these shots outside of buildings where we just have voiceover of characters talking.
Yes.
And it's Kinderman picking up the phone. And
right. Because Blatty's like, I have too much dialogue in this script. I need to just put some of it over B-roll.
Yeah. The slow tracking shot of the POV shot.
This shit is good. I love it.
Yeah. And everyone's sort of parting away and looking at him as he walks up to the hospital room is great. This might be a silly question. Did this movie make you cry?
It did not.
Okay.
I did not cry at The Exorcist III. Did you cry at The Exorcist III?
I cried at The Exorcist III.
That is wild, but like I also get it. Was it this? Was it Kinderman with Dyer's body?
It's this. It's the one cry I had in this movie, which I don't exactly know why.
I mean, to be fair, I have cried at a lot of insane shit in the history of this podcast, so I am in no position to judge. I cried like fucking 4 times watching Lady Hawk. So like you are, yes, you're justified.
He walks into the hospital room, and before anyone says a word to him, he lifts up the sheet to survey the body. And of course, we don't see any of this. He does it a couple of times at different spots on his body, but when he goes up to his head and looks up and winces, and sort of like is holding back something, that made me cry.
It's a great moment from George C. Scott. I really like that reaction.
Yeah, it's a great moment of acting from him.
Yeah. And what has happened to Father Dyer is so insane. It's another one of those ones where we get the description, but we don't see what it looks like. I like how much time we take with these cops describing to George C. Scott like what happened. Like each line is punctuated with like multiple seconds of silence in between it, where we're really just like letting it all breathe. And and what has happened is his body has been drained of like all the blood in it, and all the blood is in these like neatly stacked rows of jars that are like on this like tray at the at his bedside, and it's like it's so wild. And like this, I think, is the first time I watched this movie, because I watched this movie for the first time with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the moment in the first watch of this movie where I kind of locked in, where I was like, oh, this is really weird, because it's like the purgatory sequence followed immediately by this is like, okay, this is not going to be like The Exorcist 1. This is like a different thing. Yeah. And it is very, like, it reminds me a lot of, like we were talking about, like, Seven. And even, like, another Fincher film that I feel like has multiple connections to this movie, Zodiac, right? It kind of feels a lot like that, where it's like we're kind of taking our time around the violence and kind of letting the impact of it on the people who have to deal with it. Like, we're given that room to breathe, you know? The reason that I say Zodiac has multiple connections to this movie is because the Gemini killer clearly is the Zodiac killer. Like, the whole thing with him in the press and the name and everything, it's just like, that's clearly what Blatty was thinking about.
And I think the actual Zodiac killer wrote something about The Exorcist in one of his letters.
Yeah.
And it seems like Blatty's reacting to that.
Yeah, and
he's reacting to like the effect that his movie had on people.
And The Exorcist and real life serial killers are something of an Ouroboros eating its own tail,
right?
Because this is famously Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite movie. I think honorary third verdict on the podcast this week is Jeffrey Dahmer's.
Jeffrey Dahmer,
and it's a yes from him. Yeah,
yeah. One of his victims that escaped, confirmed it, right?
And in court, some of the officers who interviewed Dahmer when he confessed to some of his crimes also like testified under oath that like they had talked to him about this movie, and that stuff was true, right? So yeah, it's from multiple sources. Like, it's from victims and cops who talked to him and stuff, that he just had this shit on all the time. He loved this movie.
If I met a guy at a bar and he was like, "You want to come back to my house and watch Exorcist 3?" I'd fall for that.
You'd
shit.
be toast. Yeah, your head would be in a refrigerator.
well, if you watch the movie and like it, what happens to you?
I think he still kills you.
Okay.
I don't think Jeffrey Dahmer was like gauging whether or not to kill the guy based on their reaction to The Exorcist 3. I think it was mostly, he mostly wanted to like take them apart and eat them and make them into like a partner who could never leave him and all that stuff.
I imagine he'd reach for the remote and start fast forwarding to the Brad Dourif scenes, and I'd be like, hold on, man.
Wait.
Let's watch the rest of the movie.
We haven't even seen George C. Scott deliver his deranged monologue about Macbeth yet.
You're skipping over vast chunks of the movie just so you can jerk off while Brad Dourif is talking about evil, heinous shit.
Yeah. You could take Jeffrey Dahmer. He went for much smaller guys who were like, often underage and stuff, on account of they were easier to kill and whatnot.
Yeah.
I
think I could.
You could easily take Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Way more muscular than Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah. We don't need to turn this into a last podcast on last episode. About which of us could beat the shit out of Jeffrey
I think
Dahmer.
we could both beat the shit out of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah. If we got both of us back to the house to watch Exorcist 3,
oh yeah,
we'd be the ones in prison.
His ass would be toast. Yeah. I mean, he famously kind of couldn't scrap because once he was in prison, he was pretty much immediately killed. Turns out like the main way that he was able to get one over on people was getting them super wasted and like drugging them and stuff.
Yeah, we have a pretty high tolerance to that stuff.
That's true. Oh man. Jeffrey Dahmer was a heavy drinker. I would like to see who would win in a drink-off between me and Jeffrey Dahmer. Because I drink a lot, but so did he. I don't know. I don't know if I could drink Jeffrey Dahmer under the table or not. I know I weigh more than him, but he had a lot of tolerance.
It'd be a fight for the power drill at that point.
Yeah, right. We just put the power drill in the middle of the table and are like, okay, the last man standing gets to use
it. Anyways, back to The Exorcist 3.
It was inevitable that Jeffrey Dahmer was going to come up while we were talking about this movie. Yeah, so Father Dyer's dead. Shortly after this, or maybe it's a little bit before, we get our first peek at Patient X, who is in the disturbed ward of the hospital. That's what they call it. And David, when I tell you that every single time someone said disturbed ward in this movie, I had like a Pavlovian response where I went, "Oh wow!"
David Draymond is just in the cell next to Father Karras, and he's doing the bridge to the domestic abuse solo in the middle of Down with the Sickness over and
I'll
over.
be a good boy, I promise. Yeah, the disturbed ward.
Maybe they should put him in that for signing bombs that the IDF dropped on Palestinians.
Yeah, that piece of shit. You know. The disturbed ward where you can hear David Draymond doing the worst fucking Simon and Garfunkel cover of all time. Shit blows. Anyway, yeah, so Patient X is in there. He's in shadows. Obviously, like, this is going to be revealed to be Father Karras, which we've already talked about. So because a murder's happened in the hospital, they're like, the hospital is going to be locked down. We're going to have guards around like 24/7 and shit. And this is where like most of the action in the movie just transitions to being entirely in the hospital. Like we stay there for quite a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that came up earlier was the previous two murders of the little boy and the priest had different fingerprints. They found different fingerprints at the scene.
Right.
In this scene here, George C. Scott explains things to the hospital staff. I love Scott Wilson, who plays the doctor, who is kind of the primary character in this part of the movie. I love the way he just bogarts his cigarette and just like holds it so gingerly near his mouth the whole time.
There's a beautiful extended shot later in the movie of him lighting a cigarette with another cigarette. This dude is next level smoking. And like there's also like all these shots of like George C. Scott noticing all these overflowing ashtrays in his office. He has like at least 2 ashtrays with like 30 butts each in them. Yeah.
He's just a nervous little neurotic wreck.
Yeah.
And we find out it's because he's been threatened by the devil and a serial killer possessing the body of a priest.
Right, correct. Yeah.
I love this scene though, where he goes into detail about the Gemini killer and describes several of the like Gemini killer's calling cards and how they were they lied to the press. They wrote intentionally false information that they put in the papers.
A real thing that cops actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To weed out any people who were like, you know, calling and they were crackpots claiming to be the Gemini killer.
Yes.
And he explains that all the bodies so far have the hallmarks, the calling cards of the real Gemini killer.
Right, not the fake information that they've had to the press. Yeah.
And I love this guy who's like he's like a hospital administrator or something. He's just in this scene and he's just like, what the fuck are we doing all this for? And George C. Scott like just barely holding it together in this scene as he tries to explain what's happening while also like processing the death of his friend.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
It's great stuff, and also this is like a scene in which there's one of those kind of funny George C. Scott freakouts.
Yeah.
And like the magic of this movie is that it balances both things, where you're watching this performance and it's like, oh, that was really like funny and over the top. And then at the same time you're seeing like him playing the real pain. Because George C. Scott's a good actor. Like, he can't help but be good at it, even though he didn't like being in the movie, you know? And so it's just one of those things where it's like this movie, like I was saying before, kind of seamlessly transitions between kind of like the campy horror sequel tone and like something maybe a little bit more prestige, you know?
Yeah.
And so we're like spending a little bit more time at the hospital. This is where like George C. Scott is talking to some of the other patients here, seeing if they know anything. At some point in here, I think it's maybe a little later, but it's revealed that the fingerprints on the jars of Father Dyer's blood are the fingerprints of like this old lady patient who like seems very physically and mentally frail and seems like she would not be capable of this crime, right? And so there's like all that kind of investigative stuff happening where it's like, how was she involved? Did like someone else was someone else in the room? Did she like wander in? Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
You know?
and this the stuff in the the memory ward, where they talk about them as catatonics,
Right.
And some of them are Alzheimer's patients. There's a lot of this stuff that I mentioned earlier, where it's just like establishing shots of different people and characters and things in the background. I guess people and characters are the same thing.
Yeah.
In this movie,
There's a moment that kind of made me feel bad that I laughed at it, which is like the one where the guy's in like the motorized wheelchair and it's one of the patients in this like mental ward. He like zooms up to a nurse and just like opens up his robe and flashes her, and her reaction is just, come on, man. Like
it's the fifth time today.
She doesn't say anything, but she just kind of averts her eyes and puts her like palm on her forehead. And she's just like, I can't anymore with this, Bill.
What I really like is this old lady walking up to George C. Scott, and she's like, "Are you my son?" And he's like, "I'd be very proud to believe so." And then she's like, "You're not my son," and just walks away sad.
That also made me laugh in a way where I was like, should I be laughing at this?
The other thing that happens around here is Kinderman goes to visit Father Riley, who's the head of the church council that he and Dyer worked for like 15 years earlier.
Yeah.
And they
right.
discuss...
This is the priest who loves to fly.
Yes.
That's his name.
Yes. They discuss that like there's maybe some connection that all the victims have had to the Reagan and McNeil case from the first movie.
Right.
It's very tenuous. It doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah.
We get a sequence here where George C. Scott thinks there's some sort of presence in the hallway.
Yeah. The kickoff to the sequence is very funny because he is just having a conversation with this priest, sees a door open spookily, and then just gets up and wanders away. And I can only imagine what this priest is thinking. He's just like, okay, I guess I'll just sip my bourbon alone then.
Yeah.
Don't say bye or anything. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get a bishop statue that turns into the Joker for 3 seconds.
I do love the evil statue.
It was intentional.
Yeah.
William Peter Blatty was like, "Make me a Joker statue."
Oh, it is literally the Joker.
Yeah,
That's
was
funny.
That was the point.
That's funny. Yeah.
This is maybe one of the scenes in the movie. Actually, no, this is the one scene in the movie that I think I would maybe take out. It's
right.
A
It feels
too
like
long.
it kind of doesn't need to be here.
Yeah.
Because he's just kind of wandering around the spooky building. And then, like, this scene ends in just a fake-out jump scare where some lady sneaks up behind him and is like, "Oh, I have this letter to give to the priest. Can you hand it off to him or whatever?"
Yeah.
And like that's all it really amounts to.
They also start introducing Father Morning in this part of the movie, or at least like alluding to him. He's this priest who had his hair turned white from an exorcism in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And there's like one scene with him in his room where he has this bird, and the bird in the window that he's taking care of, and the bird dies, and then the crucifix falls, which I really like that scene. It's really moody and atmospheric, and a thing that Friedkin does in the first movie that doesn't quite translate to Blatty's version in this one is like every scene in that first movie feels like there's an evil presence loose in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
And this scene, which was a reshoot, feels like it has some of that same feeling in it.
Yeah. Yeah, there is some stuff in this movie that does capture that. I think like one of the reasons that I like the exorcism scene at the end is because it feels like it captures a little bit of that like pervasive evil sort of blasphemous nature that it makes the first one so striking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it is here a little bit too. So then like around here is when Kinderman talks to patient X for the first time, right? Like he's becoming more convinced that something weird is going on here. And I don't remember what like spurs him to talk to him.
He's talking to Temple, who's the doctor played by Scott Wilson.
Oh, right.
And Scott Wilson's rehearsing what he's
Right,
going
right.
to say
That's
to
what it
Kinderman.
is, yeah.
To get him to go see patient
Yeah,
X.
and this pays off when you learn that the hospital administrator guy, this character, has kind of been in the pocket of the demon possessing Karras's body, right, the whole time. And so he's like, the demon is trying to orchestrate a meeting between the two of them.
Yeah. And it's basically like, we found this guy 15 years ago who appeared to have suffered amnesia and was catatonic, and then only recently has he been expressing any sort of signs of cognitive regeneration. I guess. Like his condition got worse when they brought him in, and he's been catatonic ever since. But now he's started
talking again. But once he started talking again, he got violent. So then they put him in solitary.
Yeah.
This is also the scene where he lights a cigarette with another cigarette, which is really fun.
Also, his office, the decoration in his office, crazy shit.
Yeah.
There's like I don't know, like occult imagery and naked chicks.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this dude into?
I don't know. It sort of reminded me of the fucking doctor from Hellraiser 2.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this guy is into some shit.
Yeah, he's doing some Cenobite stuff on the side.
It feels like this demon targeting him is not an accident. It feels like maybe he's attracting this energy. So then Kinderman goes to talk to this mysterious patient, and of course it's Jason Miller. And he isn't Karras, but it's his body, right? And pretty quickly in this scene, we learn that it's the Gemini killer who, like, Kinderman had investigated that case years and years ago. That guy was executed. He was given the death sentence in the electric chair. But now he's like, spirit is inhabiting Karras's body. I like the thing in this movie where it's like, it is the demon Pazuzu from the first movie. That's not like, they never say Pazuzu in this. They also never say Pazuzu in the first one, I don't think.
They say it in the second one.
But it's the same. It's clearly the same demon. But also he like brought along a friend. Like, like when he was exorcised at the end of the first movie, he like went and found a serial killer who was being executed and like grabbed him and was like, "Come along, we're gonna do some shit together." You know, I don't think it's like over engineered or too complicated. I think it's like a fun twist that it's like, yeah, he just like got a bad soul to and like brought it along for his like fucking demonic shenanigans, you know?
Yeah, it's not over explained either. Like, you get just enough.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things I like about this movie is it lets you put the pieces together, both in terms of the way things are edited and the way things are written, where it's like it leaves a little bit of room for interpretation.
Yeah.
Especially because this character is played by two actors.
Yes.
And basically because Jason Miller was too drunk to do the entire sequence.
Yeah.
I will say the stuff that Jason Miller does in this, in the makeup, is really good.
He was a phenomenal actor. It's sad that he had these struggles in his life, and by all accounts it sort of made him a little miserable, but the guy was good, and like even in a bad place, what they managed to get out of him in the movie is like really compelling and really good shit.
And Dourif said that, they were shooting 20-minute takes of those monologues. Like, he would just start and go for 20 minutes, and if there was a mistake, he'd have to start all over.
Yeah.
So it was clear that Miller wasn't up to doing that level of acting. But because we get a few minutes with him before we transition to Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
But he's really good in this. He delivers the line about like, I picked up this little girl in Richmond and then I dropped her off at the city dump.
Yeah.
Well, part of her, other parts I kept. I like to save them. creepy stuff. And,
Yeah.
and Miller does a really great job delivering it.
Yeah, you could definitely see why a real-life serial killer would like this movie when it's the scenes between the Gemini killer and Kinderman, where it's like, okay, sure, like all of this is very like creepy and metal and yeah. And
Jeff taking notes while he's watching this.
yeah. But I really like the transition between Jason Miller and Brad Dourif. Like the way that's done is really fun, where it's like a close up on the eyes and then it pulls out and it like now it's Dourif's face. And it's great because the moment that it happens is Kinderman being like, the Gemini killer is dead, and then it pulls out on Dourif's face and he's like, I am not. And then that's our introduction
I go on. I breathe.
That's our introduction to my favorite performance of this movie, including George C. Scott. I love George C. Scott in this movie. My favorite performance in this movie is Brad Dourif. He is on fire in this movie. And like he's aided by some stuff that they're doing, some tricks that they're pulling.
Yeah, they're doing some stuff with his voice.
Yes, but it is so subtle that there are times in this movie where you can't tell if they're modulating his voice or not because he's doing insane stuff with his voice. Like he keeps like changing the pitch and the register of his voice. He like makes it gravelly and then makes it whiny and shit. And they're modulating it too, but it's like they're not doing it so dramatically that you can tell when it is being modulated and when it's not. Sometimes you're like, is that modulated or is he just doing that? And like every muscle in his face is tense. He's like talking almost exclusively with his teeth. I am obsessed with this performance.
It's a great teeth and chin performance.
Yeah, Brad Dourif has one of the all-time chins. I feel like his sharp little chin. It's just anytime he shows up in a movie, you're like, damn, that thing could cut glass.
He's savoring every line of this script.
Yeah,
like it's like a fucking A5 Wagyu steak.
Yeah,
and he just knows how to tilt his head and jut his chin out a little bit to emphasize certain words. And he takes it so slowly. He has all the time in the world. You know, I love this movie. I'm going to give it a very positive review. I love so many things in this movie, and yet at the same time, the scenes with Brad Dourif are kind of the whole movie to me.
Right. Yeah, because like the stuff outside of these scenes is sort of like confounding and compelling and weird and interesting, but then when you get into these scenes, you're just like, okay, this is just like an actor doing one of the best performances of a great actor doing one of the best performances of his career, you know, and it's impossible to look away from. Like it's so it's like enchanting what he's doing. It's so fun to watch,
and it's shot differently than the rest of the movie. It's a lot of close-ups.
I love the close-ups on his like eyes and mouth.
Yeah,
like it'll hold on a close-up of his whole face for a while, and then Blatty will just zero in on his mouth for like 4 sentences. It's so cool.
They'll do the low shot, like a 2-shot of them that's like low to the ground and sort of angled up at them, and you'll see the light coming in from the 2 windows.
Yes, which is very reminiscent of imagery from the first movie.
Yeah. And it's so dark in there. It's the padded room. They use the padded room in the reshoots. The original shoots had like a stone room.
Yeah,
that's how you can tell the difference. There's the EEG machine in the background too. And so much of it is just, you get minutes where you're just looking at Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
And then it very rarely cuts back to George C. Scott.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was thinking about both times I watched this in preparation for this, the director's cut and then the theatrical cut today, was like, do we need more reactions from George C. Scott? And I think I think it's perfect the way it is, because we just need him. He's just taking all of this in and trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
And it's really just Brad Dourif monologuing at the camera, at the audience for 20 minutes, and George C. Scott interjecting every once in a while.
Yeah. I like that when we cut back to Kinderman too, he's like still not totally sold on him being like either him being Karras or him being the Gemini killer. He's like, so what's your fucking deal? You look like my dead friend. You're talking like this serial killer I put away. And it's like, you don't fucking get it? He's the devil. But we're also, the audience is not seeing what he's seeing because he's seeing Jason Miller the whole time.
Yeah.
And the Brad Dourif thing is like a filmmaking trick to show the audience the real Gemini killer who's like inhabiting his body and stuff. But it is funny when we just cut back to George C. Scott and he's like, I'm not sure that what you're saying is true. And it's like, I don't know, dude. I'm watching The Exorcist III. I think he's telling you the truth.
Yeah, you're not seeing the most evil looking man in all of cinema.
At one point, I think it's the end of this first scene with the Gemini killer. One of the last things that Brad Dourif says is, "It was child's play," and I was like, William Peter Blatty, is that a meta reference? Are you winking at? Is that your comedy writer sensibilities coming out?
I mean, like, Larry King is in this movie credited as himself for literally one shot, and he's just there for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think William Peter Blatty is kind of being a little stinker.
Yeah, he's like, fine, I'll acknowledge that this guy is Chucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I could talk about this scene, but really, like, just watch the movie.
Yeah, it's all great shit.
It's so long. Both of these scenes are really long.
Yeah.
The language is so poetic and disturbing, and the character is such an interesting blend of, like, you can tell he's like, there's moments where it feels like the killer slips through more than the demon, and then vice versa. Like, he's kind of going back and forth in a really interesting way.
Yeah.
It's awesome shit.
So after the first Gemini killer scene here, the movie kind of shifts into high gear because the next big thing that happens is like the most famous thing in this movie, which is the hallway sequence. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much right after this. Yeah, this is like famously like one of the most effective and famous jump scares of all time. It often comes up in conversations about like best jump scares in horror movies. Aside from that, though, I also just think this sequence is like not just the scare at the end, but the entire like lead up to it is pretty masterfully done. It's like, this is kind of like a good horror short on its own.
Yeah.
Just like in this feature-length film.
Well, it's a sequence that's aware of the expectations of what an audience has for this kind of a scene.
Yes.
And the actress playing the nurse is sort of playing that up a bit.
Yes.
Where she's kind of like, she hears a noise, she goes to investigate and starts to open a door and then stops and thinks about it, and she's kind of like, this is like those scenes in horror movies.
Right. Something's about to jump out and scare me.
Right.
And I like that anytime there's a little noise, she like flinches, like she is getting scared during the scene. And the fake out scare in this scene is so good where then like she goes into the room and there's just some guy in there and he's like, no wonder I can't get easy sleep around here. People are always coming in my fucking room. But the thing that I love so much about this scene is that no matter how many times you've seen it, the scare always sort of works anyway, because there are so many shots that are identical to the shot where the scare happens that you almost always forget exactly when it's going to happen.
It's like the fight and They Live. It's always longer than you think it is.
Surely it is now. Like, the scare is definitely about to happen. And then, like, the camera will cut again. And you're like, wait, that wasn't the hallway shot? There's another hallway shot? Yeah.
Yeah, because there's another fake out that happens. She investigates another room.
Yeah.
And then at that point, like, your guard is down just as, she goes to, and the camera holds in the hallway shot.
Yeah.
She goes into one of the rooms. We see the cops that are in the room get up and leave for like a shift change or whatever.
Yes. And then right as she walks out of the room, it's like the punch zoom in with the figure with the big shears. Yeah.
God, that cameraman on the punch zoom.
Yeah.
Fucking hair trigger on that thing.
Yeah. Shit's really good.
And then it hard cuts to the decapitated Christ statue.
Yes.
Which is one of my favorite edits in this movie.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the moment is celebrated for a reason. It really fucking works.
Yeah. One of the things that I like less is immediately after this, they're wheeling her body out, and the other cop is talking to Kinderman and says, like, her body was found cut open, and her organs were removed, and they were stuffed with rosaries, and then her body was sewn back up.
Yeah.
And at this point, this is like the third or fourth, I think it's the fourth, actually. It's the fourth gruesome murder that's been described and not shown.
Yeah.
And I don't need to see it, but this is maybe a point where I feel like William Peter Blatty is pushing that just a little bit.
Right.
And like just trying to write intentionally really gruesome, ridiculous, blasphemous kills.
Yeah.
And not showing them in the movie.
Yeah.
Where at that point I'm like, okay, fuck off. He stuffed her body with rosaries.
Yeah. It does feel like maybe like a hair too far, where you're just like, all right.
Yeah.
And then like immediately after this, we also see that the hospital administrator guy has killed himself. He like injected himself with like a lethal dose of like a painkiller or something. Which I like that then when the Gemini killer is talking to Kinderman later, he's like, yeah, don't pin that one on me. That guy was just fucking crazy. Like, I didn't do that. He did that to himself. All the rest of them, that was me. But like, yeah. Yeah, so like Kinderman goes back to see the Gemini killer and is like, all right, like, what's the deal, man? Like, I am so unconvinced of all this devil shit, but like, clearly you're figuring out how to do all these murders somehow. And this is where he explains the whole thing. Like, we get like an exposition dump that I think, to your point, is not like over explaining the stuff. It is like, it's a lot of dialogue, but I think it's like elegantly written enough that it's not just like, and then I did this, and then I did that, But basically the situation is like, when Karras died, they buried his body. The Gemini killer got kind of like sucked into it by the demon, right? And then like busted out of the coffin, dug his way out of the grave, and then was just like wandering around catatonic because Karras's brain had started to die.
Yeah.
And it's taken him 15 years to like rebuild his brain enough to start doing shit again, which is like, sure, whatever. Like,
I think it's a fine
Yeah.
fine enough explanation.
Yeah.
It's a leap in logic that I can take to bring Father Karras back into the movie.
Yeah, and I can
back
definitely
into these movies.
I can definitely take the leap in logic because Brad Dourif is delivering it with this performance,
Yeah.
right? Where I'm like, you know what? I'll just like accept anything that this guy is saying as long as you keep showing him to me.
and I can watch the end of the first Exorcist movie and just accept, like, okay, Father Karras died.
Yeah.
And not worry about what happens in Exorcist 3. Just
Right.
like I can watch Exorcist 3 without thinking about the first movie.
Right, yeah.
It's
yeah.
kind of a perfect, it's sort of a perfect sequel in that way where it can stand alone.
Yeah.
It's, there's a little bit of benefit from watching the first movie, but it doesn't, it feels like it still stands on its own. It
Yeah.
doesn't influence your opinion of the first movie.
Not unlike another 1 to 3 Jump, which was my media recommendation 28 years later. Kind of a similar thing, where you can watch that movie and it just kind of stands on its own. But if you've seen the first one, you get maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, this whole scene is great. Again, it's the second two-hander between the two of them, and it's awesome. And I like that, like, the point that the demon makes here is, like, he's sort of mocking Kinderman, and he's like, I'm going to help you rediscover your faith, right? Like, I'm going to help you believe, which kind of comes back at the end. And it feels like it ties in thematically because it's like, what the demon wants him to believe is not like in God, it's in him, right? And what the demon represents is like all the evils that people do to each other, right? So he's kind of just trying to, it's the same thing from Exorcist 1. What he wants is for us to despair, right? Like the line from that one. Yeah. And then he also drops a hint here that he's going to be going after Kinderman's daughter, which it takes Kinderman an embarrassingly long time to put together.
Yeah.
As soon as he's like, are you ready to dance or whatever? Because the daughter's a dancer. I was like, come on, man. Like, it's so clear what he's saying.
Well, he's also dropping hints about he's a traveling man. He's one who moves. And Kinderman's like, so who the fuck is letting you out? Like, this temple letting you out? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then he's like, catatonics are easy to possess.
Yes, and he says old friends.
Yeah.
Right? It's all of the old friends I have.
Yeah, and Dourif puts an underline under the word old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is a little embarrassing how long it takes for George C. Scott to put any of this shit together, because you as the audience are like, oh, all right. I get it. He's possessing all the old people.
Yeah. And there's a fake out here where he's like, he thinks he's chasing after one of the killers. And it turns out to be the nurse that's popped up throughout this movie.
This nurse, by the way, we haven't talked about
Yeah,
her
but we
yet.
haven't.
We have not talked about her yet. This character is so funny to me because the first 2 times George C. Scott interacts with her, she is being so ominous and deliberately unhelpful. And the first time I was watching this movie, I was like, definitely she is in league with Pazuzu. She's being possessed. She's a Satanist. She's something, right? She is not. This is just a regular lady. By the end of the movie, it is revealed that she has just been a normal nurse the whole time.
Yeah.
So this woman is just the least helpful and least her bedside manner is dog shit.
And George C. Scott is also hollering at this woman.
That's true. She is sort of responding back with what she's being given.
Yeah. and for the first couple of scenes that they're in together. And then by the end of the movie, they've run into each other a few more times. And it seems like it's changed to respectful disdain of each other.
Yeah.
Where they just can kind of tolerate each other's shit.
I like the line, and it is in this scene, it's this interaction, where she's like, why don't you just leave? I cannot wait for you to leave! Because he's just been fucking camping out at this hospital for who knows how long at this point. Days, weeks, and so she's just had it up to here with him. She's just like, get the fuck out of my ward, stop harassing my patients. I love this lady. I also love this performance too, because she is she's being really weird and eerie at points, and then she'll just break and lose her temper and just start screaming at him. It's great.
Right.
Yeah.
We also get the old lady crawling on the ceiling in this.
Good and creepy. I like it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's both funny.
Yes.
And also good and creepy.
Yeah. I also feel like this did lay a little bit of groundwork for creepy old people in horror movies. I feel like I've seen a lot of stuff. I haven't seen the movie, but one that comes to mind is M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit, right? Where it's it feels kind of like this was foreseeing a trend where it's you know what's creepy? Old people who are weirdly fast and agile, Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the way that they do the effect. There's the wide shot of George C. Scott wandering throughout the room, and then her on the ceiling, which is clearly stitched together. It looks pretty seamless, but you can tell that's what they did.
Yeah.
As they filmed her on a floor that was made to look like the ceiling, and then they just stitched the two takes together. But then we get one a really, really low shot looking up at George C. Scott, and then her in the ceiling in the same shot. And that looks completely done in camera. It looks absolutely seamless.
Yeah, it's crazy.
While this is happening, another old woman, leaves the building in a nurse's outfit. They find the body of the nurse that she killed.
Yeah.
And she gets in a taxi to go to Kinderman's house to kill his daughter.
And simultaneously, Kinderman's putting together all that shit he was saying, he's going after my daughter. So then he tries to call home and gets a busy signal. And then we cut to the house and his wife is on the phone and she thinks she's talking to him, which I love that shit.
Yeah. It's the other way around. We get her picking up the phone first.
Right.
And she's talking, and then it cuts back to Kinderman with the busy signal, which is great stuff.
Yeah.
And then he flags down an officer and gets in a car, and he's just hooting and hollering. He's just gritting his teeth through this whole car chase.
We gotta go now.
Yeah, really great stunt driving here. I love when he's like, ram them, just ram right through them.
It's awesome.
A lot of like camera mounted on the hood of the car,
Yeah.
POV shots of them weaving in and out of traffic.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. It's cool to have this like French Connection car chase in the middle of a fucking Exorcist sequel.
Yeah, you don't expect a car chase in an Exorcist sequel, and I do appreciate it. So like the creepy nurse, the possessed nurse, beats him there. But when he shows up, everything's like fine because they were basically like, yeah, this like catatonic nurse showed up on the doorstep, and we just kind of like sat her down and gave her a glass of water or whatever.
And you called about and said a nurse was coming over.
And then like this this scene is one of the scenes in the movie where I'm like, is this supposed to be funny or not? And like I kind of can't tell anymore because then like Dourif's voice comes out of the possessed woman, and she pulls the big shears out of her bag, and then there's a shot that I think is truly hilarious of the shears about to go around his daughter's neck and her being like pulled by the hair out of the shears at the last second. It's like a blink and you miss it shot. It's really quick, but like the visual is so funny.
Yeah, I mean her expression is kind of funny. Like her eyes get all wide.
Yeah, she's like yoink.
And it feels like she's sort of unrealistically pulled out of the way.
It's very goofy, and I'm like, I no longer know whether this is on purpose.
Right. To me it's like it's funny. It's also kind of creepy and weird.
Yeah.
And I like it. And I also love like the performance from the old woman. Like there's a moment where she has lucidity and she's like, please help me, I don't know why I'm here, and then it transitions to Dourif's voice.
Yeah.
And it's funny that like this was the original climax that Blatty had in mind.
It's batshit insane that this was going to be the climax of his original vision. Like that's an incorrect choice. It's like, because like you watch the scene and you're like, okay, weird, and like if you just kind of ended on okay, that was weird, like and didn't have the whole like exorcism thing after this, that feels like it feels like this movie would have a totally different reputation than it does.
Yeah. I mean, it is weird that an exorcist just shows up at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it is funny that he's just like there he is, the exorcist.
But I sort of forget about it like 5 minutes later when like it becomes the most metal fucking thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is where we are.
Yeah. Right, because basically, like, Kinderman has been convinced that this is demonic, and so presumably he calls the hospital and is like, send in the exorcist.
I think...
Or were they sending in the exorcist anyway?
I think Father Morning is just like God's chosen messenger on earth and just knows somehow what's going on.
His spidey sense tingled, and he was like, an exorcism has to be conducted somewhere.
That's sort of what it seems like.
Yeah.
He's not a very good exorcist because he does die during this.
I would argue that he is a pretty good exorcist because even after he has most of his skin ripped off, he continues exercising.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, and like his brain's hanging out and shit. That's a good point.
That is commitment.
It's a good point.
To the profession. Yeah.
That's that spirit of God.
Yeah.
That's keeping him alive.
Yeah, reanimating this meat puppet just to say the power of Christ compels you one more time. But yeah, so Father Morning shows up. He starts doing the exorcism, and yeah, to your point, like the imagery in this is very metal. It's very fun because like he starts doing the exorcism, and like suddenly there's like all these flames in the room. There's a bunch of snakes. Classic devil shit.
Yeah. This is Jason Miller's doing this scene too.
Yeah, and he's got the Pazuzu contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the part where it looks like a Bible, but then it's revealed that the book says the Roman ritual. So this is just an exorcism manual that he has, not a Bible. I like it when the book explodes and like throws him back. Like that's very fun.
Yeah. Great voice on this guy too.
Yeah, he's got a good voice.
Really, really great booming kind of like Shakespearean voice.
Yeah, now imagine
reciting this stuff.
Imagine hearing that voice right before this guy slaps you in the face, which apparently he did a lot.
Yeah. And they build a rotating set to throw him on the ceiling, which is rad as fuck.
It's really cool. I like him getting stuck to the ceiling and then like he sort of rips himself off the ceiling, it seems like, because like the demon sticks him to the ceiling and he's like, no, I'm going to continue this exorcism skin or no skin. And we get all the close-up shots of like his flesh like being peeled off of his body, which are gross and rad, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it is that moment that I'm talking about where you've seen basically no gore for the entire movie up to this point. And so then when you see like extreme close-ups of like skin peeling off this guy's muscles, it is like so shocking because up until this point the movie has contained none of this. I love this moment because it's like, yeah, we're just suddenly really going there.
Yeah. His head, he's peeling his head off.
Yeah, like one of
And
his ears fully comes off the side of his head.
And we see his brains and there's blood running down his face. It's very gory.
It's cool as hell, yeah.
Yeah. And Kinderman rushes in.
Yeah.
And is going to shoot Father Karras.
He's like, I thank you, Father Morning, for trying the exorcism solution. My solution is big gun. Which it turns out, in an Exorcist III scenario, the sweet spot is a combination of the two.
Exorcism plus gun.
Exorcism plus gun. Yes. Is there anything more American than solving your problems with religion, but also gun? So yeah, Kinderman like kind of is.
Sorry, I just want to stop for a second.
Yeah.
It's wild that neither of us have said the words "the Pope's Exorcist" on this episode yet. We've been referencing him so much, and none of us was like, yeah, what if Russell Crowe rode into this movie to do the exorcism?
You think you're fooling me? You don't look like Jason Miller. I see you, Brad Dourif.
You're not the Gemini killer. You are just a pussy.
I think I will put you into this doll.
Waffan cool, you piece of shit. Fuck you. I am the Pope's exorcist, and I'm on the podcast again.
Russell Crowe just putting him into a My Buddy doll.
I do think that I think if the Pope's exorcist shows up, we'd be getting that demon out of there, no problem.
Oh yeah,
we wouldn't need gun.
No, yeah, I think the first interaction with the Gemini killer with the Pope's exorcist, he'd have this situation handled.
This movie would end with Kinderman and the Pope's exorcist going to movie. They'd be best friends.
Oh, yeah. Kinderman would love the Pope's exorcist. He'd be like, now there's a guy who I can see eye to eye with. Yeah,
just both of them riding the Vespa together.
He's like holding on to the back of the Vespa. Yeah, George C. Scott riding bitch on Russell Crowe's Vespa. That would have to be the strongest, the world's strongest Vespa.
So here's the question: Do we do that movie on the podcast?
Or do we just continue talking about it and never do it?
Or my other question is: do we just watch The Pope's Exorcist tonight?
Maybe. I think that's up to High Priestess Pod. Depends on whether she wants to watch it. Yeah. Now the Pope's Exorcist, Russell Crowe, I don't think that he has a history of slapping people. I could see the Pope's Exorcist also being a big slapper.
Yeah.
I don't know if he slaps anyone in that.
He'll slap the devil right the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
He's got the beaten stick that like Nona has.
This is my 5-finger exorcism.
My mama did this to me back when I was a child when I was stealing the spaghetti and the meatballs. I don't know.
Yeah, so Kinderman shows up. He's got his gun. He's like confronting Karras / Gemini killer here. And the Gemini killer pretty quickly is like, guess what, bitch? I'm doing demon shit. Like, your gun is of no use here. I'm pinning you against the wall, too. And this is like where George C. Scott's performance permanently transitions into sicko mode for the rest of the movie.
Right. I mean, like I'm sorry, William Peter Blatty, that you didn't get to do your movie that was like more low-key and closer to your novel and what you had in mind. But also, like, George C. Scott delivers this monologue, and it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen in any movie.
Because he's just
so,
pinned
like,
up against
fuck
the wall.
you.
He's pinned up against the wall, and the Gemini killer is like, "Do you believe now?" And then he's like, "Yes, I believe in depravity and slime and filth and every wicked thing," or whatever the hell he says.
And I believe in you.
And then lightning starts striking the floor, and the floor falls away. And then, like, the first crime scene that was described to us, which is the boy crucified on the rowing oars, with his head replaced by the Jesus head with the blackface on it, rises out of the floor. And that is a moment where I'm like, this sort of has a little bit of the juice of some of that really blasphemous, upsetting imagery from the first movie.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
When you finally see it.
Yeah. It's a really, like, stomach-churning image. And then it transitions to Karis on the cross too, which I also like. But yeah, the image of that rising out of the floor, I was like, oh yeah, this is a little bit like like the crucifix scene in Exorcist 1, where I'm like, I don't like looking at this.
Yeah, well, and there's the people that are like painted gray, and their hands are coming up out of the pit too.
Yeah,
it's so spooky.
Yeah,
it's also like, I don't know, sort of seems like something that would show up in like a Fulci movie or something too. It's a little weird and out there.
Yeah. And I like it. Like, sorry, William Peter Blatty, but it's good that they made you do this.
I think this ending fucking rocks.
It rocks. To me, the ending is like, other than the two-hander scenes between George C. Scott and Brad Dourif, this ending scene is like probably my favorite thing in the movie.
Yeah.
And like the purgatory sequence. Like, those are like all the highlights.
Yeah. Father Morning is still alive, just like barely clinging on.
Yeah, looking like fucking Frank from Hellraiser. Yeah.
I still got the power of God, motherfucker.
Yeah, his like face is like actively falling off,
Yeah.
and he's like finishing the exorcism.
He's like, fight, Damien, fight him.
Yeah.
And Damien Karras is eventually able to like overpower the demon in somehow.
Yeah.
And then George C. Scott falls
somehow. I'm sorry. It's through the power of Jesus
through the
Christ,
power
our
of Jesus
Lord,
Christ.
David.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. George C. Scott falls to the ground, and I love Jason. I love how quick this is. I love Jason Miller's performance. He just goes, "Now, Bill, shoot me now, kill me," and he picks up his gun and blows him away.
Yes, with no hesitation. Like, he doesn't even get to finish the sentence, and George C. Scott shoots him like 4 times. I like that moment from Jason Miller too, especially because of a thing that like Dourif says in one of the two-hander scenes, which is like Karras's soul is inside his body still. And one of the things that the Gemini killer has been relishing is making him watch all of the shit that he is doing, right? And so it's like, yeah, like for 15 years, he has been trapped in a body with a serial killer and a demon. And then like once they've gained enough power to start killing again, they're just like making him watch all of these horrendous crimes that have been described throughout the movie. So it's like when Karras like gains his consciousness back at the end of the movie, you understand that his reaction immediately being like, put me out of my misery. I can't do this anymore. Yeah.
And Kinderman talks about Karras as being his best friend in this.
Yeah.
And
which is like, I don't remember. Do we really see that in the first movie?
That's what I was wondering, because Kinderman's in the first movie. He's not in it that much.
It kind of feels like a retcon to me.
It sort of does.
Yeah.
And especially because Kinderman's now played by a different actor.
Right.
Watching this movie, I don't exactly buy it. But when I get to this point in the film, it's this like act of mercy feels so tragic and heartbreaking and real to me.
Yeah.
Because of the strength of the performances, that like it doesn't even matter if the movie hasn't really done the legwork to make them feel like friends.
Yeah.
Or it works for me.
I think that's one of the strengths of kind of the over the top performances in this movie. Like George C. Scott is going absolutely ham. Brad Dourif is like, there is not a crumb of scenery left in this movie because Brad Dourif has chewed it all.
Yeah.
And I think one of the strengths that lends to the movie is because the performances are so big, it does the thing that melodrama does, where it's like you don't need the like emotional beats to come from a place that is like grounded necessarily. The performances are so big and broad, and the story beats are so like big, and like this is such a like cosmic battle between good and evil ending.
Yeah, exactly.
That it's like the performances are matching that energy, so you like get it without having to have had a bunch of like scenes between Karras and Kinderman. You know, it's just like the point of it is that like the story is matching the emotion, and both of them are so big that it like sort of feels almost like universe. It feels biblical, really.
Well,
it feels mythological. And,
yeah. And him pointing his gun at Karras's temple to finish the job and confirm the kill. When he pulls the trigger, we hear the gunshot, and we cut to the shot of the sunset with the child doing the choral singing, and that feels big and mythological and dramatic too, as like a incredible little end cap to this thing.
Yeah, it goes hard.
And then they properly bury Karras's body back in his grave.
Yes, yeah, and the last shot is just his tombstone.
Yeah,
which I think is funny that this does canonically mean that the events of The Exorcist I occurred 2 years in the future from when the movie was released, because the death date
is that 76?
Or 75, so I guess 1 year in the future from when it was released, because it came out in 74?
74, I think.
For some reason in my head it was 73, but
I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah. But on the tombstone, it does say 75. So it's like, oh, I guess the first Exorcist came out and it was about a year in the future.
Also, good tombstone.
Yeah, good tombstone.
I've noticed a lot of fake-looking tombstones in horror movies lately.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this last night watching Texas Chainsaw 3D, where there's a grave site full of Sawyers, and like these are a bunch of fucking fake-ass looking tombstones. Insane movie.
Yes, wild shit. Then there's just like a child singing Catholic.
Oh, I meant Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this movie, which is basically over.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Texas Chainsaw 3 Dimensions.
We don't have to talk about it. The Exorcist 3, though, insane movie.
Also
2.
insane movie. Yeah, there's a choir boy singing over the credits.
Yeah.
Because this was a very serious movie ? So it ends in kind of a serious way. Sort of.
I'll ask you.
Yeah.
Justus, is William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist III, as it is titled, on the poster and in the opening credits, to let you know who wrote it.
Yes, and directed it.
This is the greatest movie ever made.
David!
Scared the dog.
That was an impression of George C. Scott screaming at you.
It's okay, sweetie.
Um,
Papa's just trying to be George C. Scott.
I was doing a George C. Scott. David, so the first time I watched this movie, I loved it. I was sort of perplexed by it. It kind of rocked my world a little bit. It's wild shit. I think this one might have gotten like a half-star bump on my first watch, just because it was the first time I had ever seen it. Watching it this time, I was like, I might like this ever so slightly less than the first time I saw it, just because some of its flaws were a little bit more apparent to me, where I was like, yeah, the movie is like mostly slow in a way that I think is good. Every once in a while, like the scene where Kinderman goes to see the priest and just walks around a spooky building for fucking 5 minutes for no reason, I was like, I don't know about this. And then some of the tone stuff is like confounding to me in a good way. And then sometimes I'm like, did William Peter Blatty know what he was doing in this scene, or is the magic of this sort of an accident? And ultimately it doesn't really matter. Like I like what I like about this movie, whether it was on purpose or not. So even though I think I like it a little bit less than the first time I watched it, potentially, I am still going to give this a yes. Like, it reduced ever so slightly for me on this watch. But I still love this movie. It's still one of the better horror sequels that I've seen, I think. And you really can't beat these performances from George C. Scott, and especially Brad Dourif. I think like this Brad Dourif performance alone deserves the title of greatest movie ever made, because I don't think a movie that contains this much of this performance could possibly be a no from me. It's just like, it's psycho shit, and I love it so much. God bless Brad Dourif. Yeah, it's the greatest movie ever made. It's a real trip, and you should watch it if you've never seen it. David, is The Exorcist III the greatest movie ever made?
I would describe this movie as insane and brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it is both those things. I think the ideas that Peter Blatty is going for here, the way this thing is put together, the details, the jokes, the wild tonal swings this thing makes, could only be done by a madman.
Right. It is kind of a movie made by an insane person. Yeah.
But the way he's able to pull it all together, despite the reshoots, despite the production problems, maybe despite his own ego as a writer, is brilliant. I think this film is... It gets better for me every time I watch it, and like, it leaves me with so much to think about. And so much to feel. I think this is a big movie where you have to use you have to feel it more than think it. But that all being said, there's tons to think about with this movie. And I see it as like a precursor to so many other things that I like in horror films and crime stories, like True Detective or Twin Peaks or Seven or Longlegs or what have you. This movie's doing so many different things, and maybe they don't always fit together perfectly, but the swings that this movie takes like can't be denied. That all being said, I do think this is a very well constructed movie. It's a well shot movie, a well edited movie, very thoughtful and patiently paced film. This has some of the best performances I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, of course, Brad Dourif is fantastic, but I don't want to undersell that. Like, it clicked with me this time. I think George C. Scott doing this, barking his way through this movie, is one of my favorite performances ever.
That's maybe insane, but I love that you feel that way.
I am.
To be clear, I love this performance. I also think this performance is like unhinged. Like, I kind of think one of the things that makes me love it so much is that I can't stop looking at it because I can't stop trying to figure out what the fuck he's trying to do.
And I think that's what makes it great, Justus.
Okay, all right, yeah. I love this take.
I
love this take.
Oh, and the fact that I know that like he hated doing this movie, and the fact that he's still just delivering this performance on top of it. I mean, it's stunning watching the man work. Yeah, it's the greatest movie ever made. Fuck you. Is it? I said I like it better than the first Exorcist. If you want to like reframe that, look at it a different way, I think this is as good as the first Exorcist, or at the very least is a worthy sequel and a worthy follow-up to the first Exorcist.
The thing that I can get on board for is the last thing that you said. I don't think this is better than the first Exorcist or even as good, but I do think it is a worthy follow-up. Yeah.
And I think it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't.
Yeah. A worthy follow-up to be clear, one of my favorite movies of all time, which is why this is still a yes for me. But yeah. That's The Exorcist III. William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist III.
It's the third Exorcist movie.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We appreciate you guys so much. Leave comments and shit. We love you. Kiss, kiss. All that stuff. Thank you to ET for our research and social media. The Halloween Horror-thon 3 Season of the Witch is coming to a close next week with our final horror threequel. Justus, what film is that?
David, we're going to be talking about a famous and infamous threequel, one of the one of the most discussed horror threequels of all time, I would venture to say. It's a Tom Atkins vehicle.
Famous beloved actor Tom Atkins.
Yes.
He's beloved by me, and he's famous to me. That's all that matters.
And me. There's a little film by the name of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Yeah, leave your fucking Captain Kirk masks at home, because
Michael Myers does not appear in this film.
We're going to be talking about chugging some Miller Lite and banging 18-year-olds and battling evil Irish toy makers.
And the robots that they create. The killer robots that Irish warlocks create.
If you were mad about my opinions about Exorcist III in relation to the larger franchise, just wait for next week to hear my thoughts on Halloween 3.
I can't wait to hear you say that Halloween 3 is your favorite Halloween movie.
I will neither confirm nor deny this.
You'll have to tune in next week
to find out. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week. And as always,
Later, dipshits!
It's almost time, kids. The clock is ticking. Be in front of your TV sets for the horror-thon.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Greatest Movie Ever Made. Please remember to leave us a rating and a review, and to subscribe to the show wherever you listen. We appreciate you supporting the show and spreading the word. Tell your friends to listen, tell your enemies to listen, tell your mom to listen. If your neighbor has an unsecured Bluetooth speaker, connect to it and play an episode. You can follow us on social media at TGMEM_podcast, and if you've got a movie that you want us to talk about, send us an email at thegreatestmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Okay, that's all for now. We hope you beautiful people all come back next week for another episode.